Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Hey, psst. Hey, you see that Snickers over there? If no one's looking, you should just take it.
No! Don't listen to him, my son. That would be stealing, and stealing is a sin.
Sin Schmin, it's a freaking Snickers bar. You deserve to have it. Sinning really satisfies you.
Repent, my child. Virtue is the only real snack worth savoring. For that candy bar is merely a gateway to nougat damnation. Has this ever happened to you?
Listening to the devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, and you're not sure what to think?
Then we're here to help. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Metz III, and this season on All the Feelings, we're examining the 7 deadly sins.
You know, the fun ones.
And the 7 heavenly virtues.
Which are also a thing. Through personal stories, historical oddities, and way too much embarrassment, we take you on a thrilling journey through all the goods and the bads you hear about in church.
But without all that pesky church stuff. So come join us for All the Feelings Season 9, a sometimes funny podcast about being human. All the sins, all the virtues.
All in one place. Go to allthefeelings.fun to learn more, or subscribe to All the Feelings wherever you get your podcasts.
Game over.
Horror movies get a bad rap. They're cheap thrills, mindless gore, not cinema, blah, blah, blah.
But we here at Sitting in the Dark know better. We know that horror is more than just jump scares and chainsaws. It's a reflection of our deepest fears, our anxieties, Okay, and there's a lot of jump scares and chainsaws.
Join us, Pete Wright, Tommy Metz III, Kyle Olson, and Keenan Diaz, as we cut into the dark heart of horror cinema.
Every episode, we explore a different facet of the genre, from survival horror to home invasions, from zombies to birds. We tickle the tropes, analyze the angles, and sharpen our own axes along the way.
We'll introduce you to the classics that shaped the genre.
And the modern masterpieces that are pushing the boundaries of terror.
Sitting in the Dark is your guide to navigating the terrifying, thrilling, and sometimes hilariously bad world of horror movies.
We'll help you understand why we love to be scared.
And maybe even convert you into a horror fan yourself.
So turn off the lights, close the basement door,
and join us.
Sitting in the dark.
I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to the next reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Series 7, The Contenders, is over. These cats don't have 9 lives.
Everyone gets a number at birth. Your number comes up. They know where you live. They come in the night.
We're here to help you.
Bearing gifts.
You can't do this.
Now all you have to do is stay alive.
It's kill or be killed.
I'm going to win.
Meet the Contenders. Dawn, Jeff, Connie, Lindsay, Tony, Franklin.
Just watch your back, because Tony's coming.
One will win.
I'm a survivor.
The rest will die.
What happened?
Series 7.
Just thought I'd look these people up, psych them out.
Andy, Series 7, The Contenders. This is the last in our People Hunting People series.
Yeah, a series that went by way too quickly. I've really enjoyed, which I don't know what it says about me, but I've really enjoyed this series.
I have too, honestly, and that surprises me as well because, I think it's because of Sitting in the Dark. I've been watching so many horror movies over the last year and a half, that I'm a little bit numb to stuff that would have given me pause earlier. Like, for example, when the Hunger Games book came out and everybody was reading it, I was like, I don't want to be a part of that kind of stuff. And then I devoured it. Like
popular culture.
Pop culture, screw that. Yeah, no. And now people killing people is like, especially kids, I'm all in.
Oh my God. You are a dark person. Dark person. Yeah.
So here we are with Series 7, The Contenders. This is a reality TV satire, black comedy, mockumentary, and it's contemporaneous to our lived life, like in terms of time. It's not a futuristic dystopian thing. It's
like a alternate present.
Yes. Yeah, that's good. That's a good way to put it. It's an alternate present, and it tells a story of these people who are just given a gun and told to go kill one another, and the last person standing is the big winner, from writer-director Daniel Minahan. How did the film strike you?
I had a great time watching this, and I think it's because Minahan, as I was going through this, it clearly felt like Minahan was somebody who had spent some time in reality TV, had a sense of kind of how this type of story was told. And I mean, we have to say this film was made in, I think, 2001, released in 2002. When the film was being shot, like Survivor hadn't even started airing yet. And so the types of reality TV, the game show types, were really just not as prevalent as they would end up becoming over the next several decades. And so it's interesting to see a film that feels so much like the inevitable place where shows like Survivor are going to move to, because as people want more and more types of entertainment and they get tired of seeing the same old, eventually it's going to get to a point where, let's just get it to a point where they're killing each other. And, that's the ultimate. And so it felt like I was watching a reality TV show with like the little bumpers and everything, and coming up next, like teasing you for what you're about to see in the next part of the episode. It played so well. I had a blast watching it. I thought it was clever. They produce it in a way and script it in a way where how TV show producers actually do that same sort of scripting and building to draw you to certain characters and make other characters less interesting. Like it just played exactly like all of that. And I really had a great time with it.
Part of its success for me is in its aesthetic. And, I'm watching it on some more demanding hardware, like upscaling. I want it to be bigger and bigger. And yet the film is shot so competently on digital video to authentically mimic the TV aesthetics of the time that I found I was able to let go of that pretty quickly. And I found it really absorbing. The act of watching these people just live their lives talking to the camera and no one having a problem with them just shooting at each other and the cameras chasing them, I thought was sublime. Like that was so deeply, darkly funny to me. Like it's a tight 86-minute film, but I think there's something about the pacing with the commercial break bumpers built in that makes it fly by. I felt like I had been watching 25 minutes and the movie was over.
It is set up in an interesting way. I mean, it's funny because, all the posters and everything, Series 7, The Contenders, but the show is called The Contenders. We're watching Series 7, and it happens to be a marathon. So instead of it ever actually saying on the screen, Series 7, The Contenders, it's always The Contenders, Series 7 Marathon.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, so anyway, the title is what it is, but it did feel like a marathon episode, like where they cut together essentially the highlights of an entire season into 1 hour-and-a-half episodes to just kind of give us the whole thing. And it played so effectively. Like I loved how it played. It gave us all of that same sense of the characters and everything. And it was really interesting in the way that it set up this, I don't think dystopian present, but this alternate present where this show is essentially a government sanctioned show where they have a national lottery to figure out what town they're going to be doing it in. And then in that town have a lottery to pick which of the citizens of the town are actually going to be the participants of the show. And so we're getting this setup that's never addressed in the film of this society where, for whatever reason, the government has decided this is a game show that we want to say is an okay thing to put out there, where people are going to be killing each other, and we're going to be the ones who pick it. Now, you have to assume the producers of the show are very involved in that lottery, because when you get somebody like Jeff, who happens to have a past relationship with Dawn, you're like, okay, there had to be something in the way that these producers forced that selection because they knew it would create a background for the characters for us to enjoy. But I love the way it sets up this society that makes all of this okay. The passersby aren't shocked at all when Don walks into that convenience store right at the top of the film and kill a guy and then asks for bean dip. Like, they're more than anything, I think they're just either excited to see the cameras and everything come to where they are. Like, am I going to be on TV? You know, you can see them like running home later to watch the episode and see if they made the cut. And two, just making sure that they're not in the line of fire, right?
You know, I think it begs a question, Andy. Like this whole exploration of violence as entertainment and public spectacle. Like, this movie has both of those. Like, one, people are sitting at home watching TV and watching this happen. But two, to your point, like, they're getting involved in it. They are a part of the reality TV experience. The guy at the Quickie Mart, whatever it was, he's a part of it. These people are watching and they don't feel necessarily threatened beyond crossfire, potentially, right? But
right, yeah.
But ultimately, this is a thing that we have already, the Series 7 exists in a post-adaptation universe where people are already so accustomed with this kind of entertainment that they're just okay living in it and among it and in partnership with it because it's commerce. I guess. Is that a fair assessment?
Commerce, but also entertainment and the spotlight. And I think that's part of it, is like, to a certain extent, it's like the guy behind the counter at the convenience store likely sees that moment as part of his 15 minutes of fame, right? And that's what I find so interesting about it, because there is this sense in society where people are kind of looking at it like, it's okay to do a show where we kill people because it's on TV, and I might get to be on that show either as a contender and then be famous, or just, you know, they're filming around me and you know, that's going to be, you can see me in the background. And I think that's what's frightening about it, because especially now, you know, 20 some years after this film came out, it feels like we're a lot closer to this than even at the time when they made the movie.
Yeah, right. We're moving the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But is it, I mean, I guess there's the question for each of us. I mean, individually, why am I attracted to this kind of media, right? Why am I attracted to movies that portray this on screen? And I think it's the other side of why I also love the movie Idiocracy, right? It's that it's so absurd. It actually is, I find it a salve for the world around me right now anyway, right? Like, it's so absurd that the real world seems more sane. And I think I need that. My mental health requires that.
That's an interesting perspective, because you are in this place where just these awful things are happening. And yeah, we're drawn. I mean, it's why do we watch? Why do we listen to true crime podcasts? Why do we watch stories about crime and murder and all of this sort of stuff? And there is this sense of being drawn to these sorts of things, of the well, at least it's not me. It's that same sense of kind of horror movies. It kind of, you feel almost more alive when you're watching that sort of film and that awful stuff that's happening, because it connects you more to that sense of living and life that you have, you know? And so when you're seeing other people go through terrible things, you're like, whew, at least it's not me. And I'm doing pretty good, huh?
Yeah, right. Well, and it makes for an exploration of how media packaging normalizes crazy extreme behavior. Right. The fact that this has bumpers and stingers on either side of all of these horrific shootings is yet another example of how we numb ourselves to the message. Right. You know, Marshall McLuhan was right. And in so doing, gives us yet another kind of meta critique of American gun culture. Right. I mean, we can't mention this movie without talking about how easy it is for guns to just become an extra appendage for these competitors, so-called competitors.
Yeah, it's an interesting look at the way that even on the show, these people end up creating their own justifications for everything, right? Dawn, this is her third round. You know, she's so far killed 10 people, 10 previous contestants she was up against, and now she's up against these 5. And so she is kind of the returning champion, as they say. And she kind of is like, hey, I don't want to be part of this, but I'll do what it takes to win. She's pregnant. She's like, I got to save the baby. I'm doing it for my baby. Meanwhile, you have Sheila, who is the older nurse. I think Sheila's the nurse, right? Or no, it's Connie. Connie
was the nurse?
Connie's the nurse, yeah.
Okay, so she's Connie, the angel of death.
But what's so fascinating is like she views herself as a very religious woman, and even when she talks about kind of some acts that she has done as a nurse where she has helped, quote, helped people with assisted suicides, you get this sense that you're like, is she, like, what is she actually doing? But somehow she's created this reality for herself where everything that she's doing is okay. She looks at Dawn as a complete crazy lady who is like a terrible, terrible person and sees everything that she's doing as sinful, and she's an awful person and manipulative, and that's, I think, a fascinating glimpse into these characters that we get where Connie really kind of paints this view for herself of how all these other people are so awful and she is such a saint, where we really get the sense that is Connie really a saint? No. But that's I think part of the way that these people start, especially once the cameras are on, they start kind of creating this sense of things.
Yeah, right. When really Connie is just not quite as far along the competitor's evolutionary scale as Dawn is, right? Connie is going to end up in exactly the same place. And we see it. We see it when she actually puts up a fight. She actually assassinates people. She finds the same justification that Dawn did.
Even going so far as to write these anonymous letters about, hey, if you show up at this place, I can help you. And that's another dark thing where she is willing to create these lies to other contestants to get them into a place where she can basically just have a turkey shoot and just pick them off one at a time.
Yeah. Which ended up being at a mall, a public place, right? Yeah. Like, what an interesting choice for the film to take, right?
Absolutely.
I wanted to turn attention to Jeff, right? Because Jeff is the only one who had an intention for pacifism and the fortitude to stick it out, because he was already going to die until the very end, where he also had a change of heart. And I'm curious your take on his arc. Did you find that, did that keep you in the film?
Well, I want to talk about that, and we'll definitely, part of this conversation we have to save because we're going to have a whole other conversation about the end of the film, which I think is also doing some interesting and manipulative things with us, the viewer, and, quote, us, the TV viewing audience of this particular story.
Okay, that's fair.
But what I love about Jeff is that it does create this sense of this character who has kind of given up and he's ready to die. And I mean, to the point when they show up with their gun to give to him, say, you have been selected as a contender for the show. Like, he puts it to his head and tries to blow his head off. He's ready to just die and doesn't want to be part of it, only to find out that, of course, it's not loaded. But what I find so fascinating about him is the fact that this is the storyline that feels like the producers were very much manipulative of the lottery system for this, because Jeff has this backstory connection to Dawn. They had been like best friends, outcasts in high school, essentially, with their fantastic Love Will Tear Us Apart video that we see over the course of this. But also this romantic connection and this draw to each other that we see play out. And again, this is exactly what producers do with these reality shows. They find these sorts of connections so that they can, again, it's, quote, reality TV. They're just filming what's happening, but they're always nudging things in certain directions. And so the fact that Dawn and Jeff show up together, you get this draw between the two of them closer and closer until they're finally like, I care too much about you. Let's not kill anymore and let's go on the run, essentially, is what happens, which leads to that end where the two of them hold up a movie theater so that they can essentially get out of the country into a safe place. And so I find that to be a fascinating way that the story unfolds. Now, if we are to buy the end of the film as it's portrayed, when suddenly they, quote, lost the footage, and we're now watching a reenactment of what happened. And yeah, as you're saying, Jeff is the one who suddenly no longer wants to die, and he actually ends up ready to kill Dawn, essentially, even though his wife ends up coming in and doing the job for him.
Talk more about that, though, because I think that, if we are to believe is another one of those like loaded statements. What do you think happened at the end of the film?
There's what I think happened, and there's also what you can find out if you watch the deleted scenes of this. What I think happened when I watched this is that they put a bunch of audience members, real people. Like one of my favorite bits was when they're on the phone to the producers and they're shouting these demands, and all the theater patrons are like, yeah. And then she's just like, that means we're killing you, you idiots. That was like, it was so perfect. But like the way that I saw the end of the film is, okay, so they put all of the audience people at risk, possibly even killing some of them. Who knows how far they ended up going. But my interpretation was these two somehow did actually force the hand of the producers, the police, the country into a situation where they actually probably did find a way to escape and get out of the country. And the show was never going to depict that. And so they created a false reality of how things ended and came up with the story that could work. Now, the only thing that didn't make that work the way that I saw it is the fact that the very last scene of the film, we see, hey, Jeff's actually still alive, and now he's going to be the returning champ for the next season.
Yeah.
Fantastic final moment of the film. So that kind of killed that for me a little bit, but I thought, okay, well then maybe what happened is the cops had to come in. Did they kill Dawn and now and maybe shot Jeff, but he's okay, and now he's going to be forced to come back. Anyway, something like that I figured had happened. Now, the deleted end or the alternate ending of the film that happened is that Dawn and Jeff somehow get out of the theater, I guess. Like they flee, and the audience members outside are so angry at them for not kind of following through on the rules of the game and whatnot that the audience members or the fans start beating them. What sounds like what happens is Dawn gets beat to death. Jeff gets beat within an inch of his life, but is okay. And then the producers ended up essentially, because when we at the very end we see Jeff's wife, is his wife Doria, right? Mm-hmm. She says something like she's going to jail, and she's like, they framed me for this. Apparently what happened, or the way that you can interpret it with that alternate ending, is that Doria actually is framed for killing Dawn, even though it was the fans who killed Dawn. And so she's put in jail. Jeff wakes up in the hospital and essentially finds out he's still alive and now has to compete again. So however you slice it, whichever interpretation of the ending you watch, the only way I can see it is that something else happened and the producers wanted to create something that was still good television.
Yeah. I think hearing you talk about it, and I haven't seen that extra ending, but the thing that I think I prefer about it is that it leans heavily on the fact that the audience is complicit, right? All along, we're talking about this movie where the audience is a part of it because they are sort of voyeuristically engaged in the experience of the contenders. And here they have a literal hand in the direction of the show. And I think I prefer the bleakness, the blackness of that ending to the lost footage piece. I don't know. Do you have a position?
I mean, I can definitely see what you're saying, because in the alternate ending version, yeah, the audience is very complicit because they're literally the ones that beat these two down for not basically doing what they're expected to be doing, as opposed to just the producers who are complicit and saying, we want to deliver something that the audiences are going to be happy with, or will give us better ratings. Who knows? I mean, you hear all these sorts of things that the reasons for why they do these things. I'm fine either way. I like the idea of the producers. I guess the version I like is the one that we ended up watching, because it feels exactly like what we would get as a reality show. Like,
yes, Dramatic reenactment fits right in.
The producers do some dramatic reenactment, rewrite the whole ending to give it something that they are happier with. It just played well for me. I think if I had seen that other version, I think I might have scratched my head a little bit going, okay. Like I feel like, and I haven't seen it, I just read about it, but I feel like it may have worked better on paper.
Yeah, I can see that. It certainly works better in podcast for me, just hearing about it.
Yeah.
I do love how the movie, we've already talked about some of the sort of format issues, like committing to filming sort of digital video to mimic the authenticity of the era and the platform. I like how it switches between that is the professional standard, and then it'll switch to like surveillance style footage. I like that we have access to the surveillance cameras. I think that gives it an interesting, another interesting visual texture. In terms of the chase cameras and integrating other Contenders camera people into each shot is really fun. This is super highlighted when she gets out of the car and she's chasing Jeff after he makes the commitment, and the camera person runs out into the middle of the street, Jeff's camera person, to film him running away.
Tony. That's Tony.
Oh, you're right. That was Tony and his family.
He kidnaps his baby.
He kidnaps his baby, right. So she runs out, she's trying to shoot him, but the cameraman's in the way, and she's getting very, very upset. I think that was such a great bit. I love that the show, The Contenders, is not afraid to work the behind the scenes into the sort of front of house shot. I think that works really, really well. It's not like Survivor, where we know there are 400 people on the beach during these competitions and we're never going to see them. This is, I think, makes it grittier and more sort of real.
Yeah. No, and I think that the look definitely lends to that. And the fact that we are kind of having those behind the scenes moments with the camera people throughout, where sometimes like she's talking to the camera people, trying to get them to help with something. And they're like, I can't do that. And like Dawn would get so frustrated, just like, God, like forced to have to do these things on her own. It was nice to see the way that they integrated that. And I bought into it. Like I bought into that world of the behind the scenes, the way that they played that.
Do you know what they nailed the best is the extreme close-up interviews, right? Like in the car where the camera is framing just like eyes, nose, and mouth and trying to get them to talk about something really intimate or important to them. I think that those styles of interviews are so just rampant in these kinds of shows. And I think I think it worked really, really well to once again sell me on the fact that this is a real property. I finished this thing and I felt like this was a real show that I could go watch.
Well, likewise, they have the post interviews, like after a scene has happened, where they actually do a sit down interview with somebody to talk about like what they had just gone through. Like that is again, another trope of this type of programming that they do so well. What I find interesting, especially based on what you said, is that Daniel Minahan, when he came up with this idea, initially actually pitched it as a TV show. It would be like a fictional version of a reality show. And I guess that it just wasn't sexy enough for the networks at the time. They didn't think that something like that would actually play properly. And so then he ended up just having to pitch it continuously for a number. And that was like the mid to late 90s that he pitched that. So it took a few more years before finally finding a way to get this thing out there.
That's crazy. It's one of those things. I can see why it would be troublesome because it's almost too real for TV, right? In the fact that it's completely fictionalized, I can see how you might get a little bit of a War of the Worlds vibe.
Right. Well, some people certainly, if they had never heard of it and just are flipping channels and land on it, they probably would be left like, oh my God, what have we become?
Yeah. Yeah, which is exactly the question we should ask, but not for that reason.
Right. Well, especially the way that the show plays itself out. Like, these characters are, like, we get some pretty cheesy moments off and on with the characters, some behind-the-scenes moments of people living their lives, some things that just seem really, like, over-the-top funny, the way it ends up playing out. Like, we never really spend much time with Franklin, but it definitely is clear that he's kind of like a conspiratorial mindset sort of person. Like he's got his windows covered in aluminum foil. He's the one who just before he gets killed starts spouting off about conspiracy theories and all that. So you're getting some interesting things about all these characters. But the thing that it always takes fairly seriously is the fact that like when they're killing people, they're just dead. And like, that's the end of it, you know, like Merritt Weaver, she's the first one to get killed there when Franklin comes at her and she's just dead. And then Franklin's next and just the two of them are just laying there dead. And that's just like, it's just the reality. And so it might play for laughs and reality show response as you're watching a show like this, but it never takes the deaths to over the top. It always feels, I mean, maybe the one time when Merritt Weaver goes to call in her first kill, like that might be the one time where she has to call their 800 number to the studio to register that she got the kill sort of thing. Like that might be the one time, but largely I think it plays pretty well. It plays seriously enough to buy into what they're doing.
So let's talk about Brooke, can we?
Brooke Smith playing Dawn, yes.
Yeah. Brooke Smith, who we're actually going to be talking about again very soon.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
In a couple of weeks. And I'm excited about that in an earlier.
Silence of the Lambs, right.
Silence of the Lambs. What do you think of Brooke Smith? If there is a woman who fits in the category of that face, for me, it's Brooke Smith.
She is totally like one of those that guys, but that gal. Like she is somebody that I always register as soon as I see her, and my brain always goes to it rubs the lotion on his skin. Like it's straight from Silence of the Lambs. I just remember her so, like that performance is just so burned into my head. But she's done a ton of other things. She was in Vanya on 42nd Street. She was in Her Shoes, Interstellar. She's a face that I know and recognize and generally enjoy. And watching her play this pregnant woman who's literally, she ends up giving birth over the course of this game show. Like that's how pregnant she is. It played well. And I just thought she was perfect for the role.
I did too. She, for me, the longest run that she had on a TV show was her time on Grey's Anatomy. And that happened to be when my wife and I were watching Grey's Anatomy quite regularly. So we had a great run with her as Dr. Hahn. But you mentioned Vanya on 42nd Street. I want to lean in on that because I think you watched that because I love it so much.
I haven't yet.
What? Oh, God. Andy.
I have it waiting for me.
Do you know what we need? Sidebar. We need, when this happens, we need to change the structure of the show just in a little bit. When this happens, when there is a movie that we've been talking about for so long, we need a trade week where I just think you should go watch this movie right now, move it up in your list, and in exchange, I'll do the same with any movie you pick. I just have to go watch it this week.
Wow. Okay.
So if I tell you, go watch Vanya on 42nd Street, what do you want me to watch this week? I'm writing it down. I'm dead serious about it.
You're going to watch RRR.
Oh, absolutely. RR. I'm writing it. I'm pen in hand. I'm writing it down.
I know. I see
RRR.
that. I see that. This is serious.
Exclamation point. And that's not even in the title.
I'm excited for you.
I'm excited for you. Wallace Shawn, man.
I know.
He's so great. Oh, you're probably going to hate it. All right.
No, it's been on my list since I saw Drive My Car. I'm like, I need to invest some time in that story. So I better understand some of those elements when they bring it up in Drive My Car.
Okay, good. Well, I feel like I'm going to win that one.
Well, maybe you should watch Drive My Car.
Are you changing your pick right now?
I think I am. I think I have to. I'll save RRR for another time. You're going to watch Drive My Car because it ties in so well to Vanya on 42nd Street.
Drive My Car, Ryusuke Hamaguchi.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Rent. I'm going to rent it so that I can watch it on the Vision Pro. I'm going to big screen this thing right now. Look,
there you go.
I'm Touch IDing. Done. This week.
Look at that. Just rented it. All right. You got 30 days.
I've got 7 days. I've got to talk to you about this again.
I'm just saying, in the scope of rentals, you have 30 days.
You have no idea how seriously I take my rentals.
If you really want to push it, hit start now, and then you got 48 hours.
If I really want to push it, I'm going to try and watch it and continue this podcast with you right now. That's how serious I am. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I feel great about this plan.
Yes.
I love this. The swap.
All right, so that was Brooke Smith.
Yeah, we love Brooke Smith.
Merritt Weaver plays our 18-year-old who's brought into this, and the best bits with her are the fact that her parents drive her to all the different areas that she's going, whether it's the mall or the golf course or over to Franklin's house or trailer, and the conversations that she has with her parents, the guns that they're providing for her, like everything about that relationship, especially like the moment when her dad walks in on her and her boyfriend having sex.
Yeah.
And then just like continues to have this conversation with his daughter while the boyfriend is in the background just slowly getting dressed. Man, these scenes played so funny. Yeah.
So funny. I have to say Merritt Weaver is on the brain right now because she is playing one of the best roles on Severance. She's playing Gretchen George, Dylan's outie wife. It is just a lovely and complex portrayal. We don't get enough of her on screen, but every scene where she is with him in the intimacy room is just perfect. And to see her in this movie so many years ago is jarring. It is really jarring. She's just wonderful. And I feel like I need to go back and do another review.
She's just done so many roles in films over her several decades in the industry. It's fun to see her in this very early one. She was great in it. Yeah,
she had such a great run in the teens, right? I mean, goodness. Charlie Says, Welcome to Marwen, Marriage Story. She's just wonderful.
Birdman,
yeah,
Tiny Furniture. Yeah, she did lots and lots of stuff.
Yeah, and of course, Walking Dead.
Oh yes. We talked about Connie. That's Mary Louise Burke, who plays Connie. She's a face that has been kind of like somebody who's popped up in bit parts in all sorts of things over the years. I enjoy seeing her here. She does a great job as the role of Connie. We've talked about her a bit, but I had fun with her. Did you like her in the role?
Very much, because I mean, I think I mentioned it. I think the whole idea of the way she convinces herself to play the game and to use her skills as a nurse to participate, I thought was really great. And the fact that she had a gun, but she chose injections. And she says early on, I think what makes her complex and questionable is in her interview, she says aloud to camera, "Sure, I've helped people die." Right. Which makes me think this is going to come easy to her, right? Like she has probably taken others' lives into her capable injectory hands.
Yeah, well, she clearly has no problem when we first see her inject Tony and kill Tony.
Yeah, right. So I think it was I think she is a really fun character, and the fact that she came to play makes her compelling.
Yeah. No, she was great. And then Glenn Fitzgerald plays Jeff. He's also, like, a lot of these faces are people that I've seen in other things before, but generally they're kind of like smaller roles. So, it's fun in this independent film to see them with bigger roles. I thought he did a great job here.
Me too. And he's been in a number of things that I think are fantastic, right? I mean, he did long ago, Sixth Sense, The Ice Storm, Flirting with Disaster. These are his top 4. Flirting with Disaster and Dirty Sexy Money, The Show. All of them fantastic. Like, he's just great. Seeing him old, I feel like this is one of those, all of these characters are revisiting them at a very, very young age, and it's fun.
Yeah. And then there's Daniel Minahan, our writer-director behind this film. What's interesting as you kind of look through his career is, we talked about I Shot Andy Warhol when we were doing our Mary Harron series, and he actually wrote it with her, and I think he or second unit director of the film. So, he in some capacity, I can't remember if we mentioned him when we talked about that movie, but this was early on in his career when he was working on getting independent films off the ground and everything, and it was kind of right after this film when he had this shift into television that really ended up becoming his stock and trade. I mean, 6 Feet Under, The L Word, Deadwood, those are like the first few TV shows that he started working on, and then just kind of kept going from there. Grey's Anatomy, Game of Thrones, Homeland, House of Cards, American Crime Story, all the way up to more recent things like Fellow Travelers and Halston. So very, very busy in TV and very well thought of in the TV circles.
And it's funny, Grey's Anatomy and Ray Donovan. I think that's that you can kind of see where Brooke Smith's path it continues to cross with his after this movie. It's interesting to see their lines.
And I think I read somewhere that he actually wrote that role for her.
Yeah.
And
interesting. I can see it.
What's funny is that he named her Dawn Legardo after like an old friend from high school, I think. And the producers were concerned, because you always go through these rights and titles, clearances, and they were concerned that they were naming her after a real person. And so he actually had to reach out to Dawn and get permission from her, like written permission to use the name, because Brooke had already kind of connected to the name and just felt like started working on that character as Dawn Legardo and really wanted it. So they got permission from the real Dawn Legardo, and there you go.
Good on you, Dawn Legardo.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a thing. We should see if we can get an interview with her.
But yeah, going back to Daniel, I just you can clearly get a sense that this is a person who understands how TV works. I mean, obviously all these shows that he works on aren't the reality show types of shows, but he knows how to craft a story in that amount of time. And putting this movie together, I think, just falls in line with that understanding of how to tap into audience expectations in that small format, because everything that he's doing here just fits right in line with the world of reality television at the time, 2001, and continued as it's gone on.
What's so interesting about Minahan is just how little of his personal life is public. Right? His history is made of credits. We know that he went to the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan and graduated with a BFA in 1987, and that's pretty much it. And then it's just credits. And I mean, I think that's really laudable right now. He's a guy who just exists for the catalog of work that he creates. And I think he's a fascinating, apparently a kind of a quiet personality.
I would imagine that you find that with a lot of TV directors, though, who aren't necessarily like the big film directors who then also end up directing TV, like Walter Hill. But the fact that he is somebody who is just kind of like a TV director who just, you can guarantee you'll bring in, he'll direct a great episode, and then he goes on to the next thing. I think that he's probably just made a strong career of just that. And so you just haven't had as much of the digging into all the personal details of his life.
It's just, I mean, I think it's interesting. He's, there are no controversies, no cancellations. He just seems like a really good guy.
That's always nice to hear these days.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think it's a fascinating film. I definitely think it's one that is worth checking out. It's not easily available. It came out on DVD, and you can probably still find used copies on eBay or Amazon, places like that. But otherwise, the only version of it that's out there is a DVD rip that's on YouTube that is, pretty low quality. I mean, it's still, you're watching TV quality production, so it plays okay, but this is something that I think would be interesting to see get a little more notice, because I think people would enjoy watching it. And I don't know, I feel like there is this sense to crafting a story like this that just, I mean, they never ever step out of the frame of the TV show. We never get that. And so you're just watching a show all the way up to the end of the promotion for Series 8. And what a fascinating, way to just buckle down and go all in on this concept. Again, they never give us a sense of this world and why this is okay in this particular alternate present. But because of all that, I just felt like it played even better. It just created this sense of this space that I bought into. I
think so too. It's a funny movie, right? To me, it works so much better as a satire and a social commentary than it does a chase thriller, right? It seems to be soberly lampooning all the right things and poking at all the right things. I had my experience on YouTube. I thought it was pretty good. Like I watched it on the headset, kind of as big as I could get it. And I think you're right. The format, the choices they made for the format made it feel appropriately dated. It didn't feel necessarily like I was struggling to get through a horrible, noisy old print that should by all rights have been cleaned up. It felt like this is what I would have been watching on TV at the time. And so I really, really enjoyed it. I think in that regard, the format really enhances the satirical message, and to the point that they never step out of the frame. Awesome point. Like, I think that's fascinating. It does make me wonder, how would the movie, you give Dan a bunch of money and say, remake this movie right now. Like, what elements of today's media landscape do you throw in to this movie? Obviously, there are a lot more cameras. The message on violence is probably just more extreme, but I don't think it's any different.
I'm not even sure if there are more cameras. Well, maybe, but I would imagine that you'd also have the people just using their own phones.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there are cameras literally in everyone's pocket.
Yeah, right. Drones. Yeah, there's so many different ways they can be crafting a story like this. And I'm curious, like, especially, I mean, in our pre-show chat, we brought up the fact that Edgar Wright is remaking The Running Man. And you wonder, in a world where a game show is out in the public on the streets, are they tapping into found footage type of production in that sort of thing, where anybody watching the show, if they see Dawn running by the house, they can pick up their phone and film it and post it on their socials and tag it, and the network can pull that footage into their own feed and use it. And suddenly it's like every single person, like you said, there's cameras everywhere. How does that get integrated into the storytelling?
I think that's really interesting. Yeah. I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was just really innovative, and it was a great way to cap this particular exploration of our Man-Hunting Man Most Dangerous Game series. I thought it was great.
Yeah. And we haven't even brought up that Will Arnett was the narrator and comes in at the end. That was
so good.
Just perfect way to cap it off. Well, it's a great film. I'm glad we had it on the list. And I guess with that, we will be right back. But first, our credits.
The Next Reel is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson, music by Fable Forte, Russo, Ty Simon, Oriole Novella, and Eli Catlin. Andy usually finds all the stats for the awards and numbers at the-numbers.com, boxofficemojo.com, imdb.com, and wikipedia.org. Find the show at truestory.fm, and if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.
Welcome back to another heart-pounding episode of the Next Reel Merch Hunt. I'm your host, Andy Nelson, and today we're diving into the cutthroat world of cinematic merchandise. Our contestants have been chosen at random from a pool of die-hard movie fans, each eager to get their hands on the most exclusive, limited edition designs inspired by the films we love. But there's a twist. Only one contestant will walk away with the ultimate prize package. The rules are simple. Navigate the treacherous landscape of thenextreel.com/merch, hunt down your favorite designs, and add them to your cart. But be warned, your fellow contestants are on the same mission, and they won't hesitate to snatch up those one-of-a-kind items before you do. Will you opt for a design from our Filmmaker Filmographies series, celebrating the visionary works of legendary directors like Akira Kurosawa, John Carpenter, Sergio Leone, and Kubrick? Or perhaps you'll show off your geeky side with the Pack Tech shirt from Real Genius. Maybe you'll take a chance on the Blood Moon Centennial Celebration design from Messiah of Evil, or the classic Rusty the European Tour shirt from National Lampoon's European Vacation. The choice is yours, but remember, in this game, hesitation means defeat. To raise the stakes even higher, we've expanded our product lineup. Contenders can now hunt for designs on a wide range of apparel and merchandise, from t-shirts to tapestries and everything in between. The possibilities are endless, but so are the risks. So, Contenders, are you ready to enter the arena? Head to thenextreel.com/merch now and let the hunt begin. Remember, every purchase not only grants you a piece of movie history, but also helps support the next reel as we continue to explore the world of cinema, one film at a time. Who will emerge victorious in this battle for cinematic supremacy? Tune in next time to find out. Until then, happy hunting, and may the odds be forever in your favor.
It's award time, Andy. How'd it do at award season?
You know, for the type of film, for the independent release that it had, it did okay for itself. 3 wins with 4 other nominations. At the Golden Trailer Awards, it actually won 2 there. One, both for the Red Band trailer. It won for the trashiest trailer, and it won for the best independent trailer. At Sweden's Fantastic Film Fest, it won the Audience Award for Best Feature Film. At the Edgar Allan Poe Awards, it was nominated for Best Motion Picture, but lost to Memento. At the Deauville Film Festival, it was nominated for Grand Special Prize, but lost to Hedwig and the Angry Inch. At the Gijón International Film Festival, it was nominated for Best Feature, the Grand Prix Asturias, but lost to Dog Days. And last but not least, at the Gotham Awards, it was nominated for the Open Palm Award, but lost to a tie between Hedwig and the Angry Inch and The Believer.
Well, we've seen several of those.
Yes, we've seen quite a number of those when we did our series on the best cinematography nominees at the Independent Spirit Awards from 2002.
I think those are all probably good choices.
Yeah.
And I still like this movie. How'd it do at the box office? Obviously it did well enough for Minahan to get some notice for more work.
True, yeah. This is really a perfect example of an indie Sundance film. They really, unfortunately, for this conversation, they don't publish much budget information. Minahan premiered this movie at Sundance 2001, where it was picked up and then released limited March 2nd, 2001 on 2 screens opposite the Mexican and C-Spot run, not to mention other limited releases of The Caveman's Valentine and The Widow of St. Pierre. They would expand this to 10 screens over its few weeks in theaters, but not enough to make any sort of dent. In the end, the movie went on to earn $195,000 domestically and $105,000 internationally, for a total gross of $537,000 in today's dollars. Again, no idea how well it did, but I have to imagine it ended up being a loss at the box office, which is unfortunate. But as you said, it showed what Daniel could do.
Yeah, I that's a huge bummer that it's a loss at the box office.
Yeah. Presumed loss.
Your presumed is as good as a fact, right? Come on. Well, again, I had a great time, and it surprised me. It really surprised me. I thought when the movie started, I was like, "What has he gotten me into?" That's what I said out loud, and it was worth it.
It started so perfectly. Like, it even had the little countdown at the beginning and everything. It was great.
It was great.
Well, I had a great time with this. Lots of fun closing out this series. It was a fun series to jump into, and definitely a series that I hope we return to down the road.
Me too.
So we'll be right back for our ratings, but first, here's the trailer for next week's movie, kicking off our Hannibal Lecter series. It's Michael Mann's Manhunter.
Intruder entered through kitchen sliding door.
Nationwide victims.
Yeah, this is Will Graham of the FBI.
One killer.
This is what the subject's teeth look like.
Have you ever seen blood on the moonlight well?
Multiple trails.
Just you and me now, sport.
One hunter.
I'm gonna find you, damn it.
FBI agent Will Graham. Manhunter.
In a world where podcast listeners merely survive on weekly episodes,
only the strongest
can become
Next Reel members.
Welcome to
the Ultimate Film Podcast Challenge,
where ordinary listeners transform into
elite supporters
with access to the most
exclusive content in podcast history.
Do you have what it takes
to join the ranks of our
champions?
No one gets eliminated, and no one dies, but only members experience
the full next reel advantage.
Contestants receive
bonus episodes
that the general public
will never hear. Early access
to episodes while others
wait in agony.
Exclusive in-episode content that will
blow your mind.
Your very own
personal podcast feed,
customized for
maximum listening efficiency.
Only the most dedicated contenders will experience ad-free versions of select episodes,
pure uninterrupted film analysis,
access
to live stream recording sessions
where you can witness the
podcast magic
as it happens, exclusive channels in our Discord community where you'll connect with
fellow survivors
of the podcast battlefield, and the ultimate prize, the satisfaction of directly supporting
the podcasts you love.
The competition is fierce. The rewards are extraordinary. Will you become the next real member contender? Or will you remain the nameless masses, forever wondering what secrets lie behind
the membership wall?
The choice is yours. Join now at truestory.fm/join and
change your destiny forever.
No actual competition exists. All members receive identical benefits. No elimination rounds. The next reel does not condone reality TV violence. If Pete and Andy knew what terms and conditions were, they would most certainly apply. Pretty much just sign up, and thank you very, very much. Letterboxd, Andy. Okay, what are you going to do for this movie? Letterboxd.com/thenextreel. That's where you can find our HQ page. And here we are. How do we apportion our stars and hearts for this movie?
Signing it up for the military.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed this movie. You know, it's interesting going through old reviews. Like Roger Ebert wasn't as much a fan. He still gave it 2.5, but he also felt like it played its one thing and it played it too long. But I'm just like, for me, it was perfect. I thought it delivered exactly how it needed to deliver. It felt like, I don't know, more connected to our present today than perhaps maybe it did back in 2001. I loved it. I had a great time with it. I'm kind of torn. Is it 4, 4.5? I think I'm going to go 4 for now, and maybe down the road I'll bump it up.
I am right with you at 4 stars and a heart. I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's a super satisfying watch, and it's absolutely one I'm going to watch again and just delight in introducing people to. And you're right. I mean, maybe does it ever become a 5-star movie? Maybe it does.
Yeah, who knows? Well, that will average out to 4 stars and a heart over at our account on Letterboxd, which is at The Next Reel. You can find me there at Soda Creek Film, and you can find Pete there at Pete Wright. So, what did you think about Series 7, The Contenders? We would love to hear your thoughts. Hop into the Show Talk channel over in our Discord community, where we will be talking about the movie this week.
When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Letterboxd giveth, Andrew.
As Letterboxd always doeth.
All right. How did you approach your hunt for the perfect Survivor review?
I went high. I went to the 5-star reviews to see who out there loves it that much. And
I worry that you and I might have found the same review.
Cobus 15?
Dogface Boy.
Okay, I'm on Cobus 15.
Oh, all right, go ahead.
So I liked Dogface Boys also, and I almost went with it. But I went with Cobus 15's, and Cobus 15 has reviewed it several times. This is from September 12th, 2024, 5 stars and a heart. I found it! I found my favorite found footage movie and my favorite killing game movie, LOL.
How deep.
Yes.
Okay, well, mine's a little bit longer from Dogface Boy. It's a 5 star and a heart. The kind of perfectly imperfect film where I can stick my fingers in my ears and la my way through the bits that have problems, since there's so much else I like about it. How can you not adore a movie that basically takes a break halfway through to play a pretentious goth new romantic homemade short film music video for Love Will Tear Us Apart? The only issue I have with Series 7 is that every time I revisit it, which has been a lot of times, the real world keeps shifting to the state where the absurdity of the parody of reality TV presented here keeps becoming less ridiculously absurd and over the top and more believable. Fab Girls Against Boys soundtrack, too. We didn't even mention the Girls Against Boys soundtrack, but it was great.
Yeah, it was great. Perfect for the movie.
So, well done, Dogface Boy. So good. Thanks, Letterboxd.